Hi guys, you're watching BNC Entertainment and I am your special host for today. I am Sylvia Msukwini, as you know me. You can call me Queen Shiba. I have the most gorgeous, beautiful lady on set today actually. I've followed her since I started using social media. I've seen her on TV, I've listened to her on radio. Listen to her, English guys. I've listened to her on radio and it's been quite some time because now I grew up in a house where Remamela station Sabule Seji, you understand, and I loved this youth radio stations, and every time when mom and dad were not around, I'd tune into the hottest radio stations in Joburg and I heard this beautiful voice, and that's when I started having love for media. And let me not get too much into detail and let her introduce herself. Hi, darling.
How's it? You
How
said
are
Queen
you?
Shiba. I love that.
Yes.
I love that.
I am the lady that brings money to Solomon's life.
Wow.
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah. I'm
Even
the
my
queen.
life. Let's talk about
You
that.
understand.
Bring the money.
Yes, I'll bring the money, all the wealth. How are you?
Good. Thank you for the intro. You know, you took me back to the start of my career, which was definitely you know, the highlight of my career, or one of the highlights of my career. So thank you for that.
Thank you very much. So guys, this is Sam Lihogo. I thought she was going to tell you guys who she is, but I have all the privilege to do that, right? She is, oh my god, where do I start? So she started from UCT, she went to YFM, she went to Metro, she did Cloud 08, she went to Vuzu. She's on Mix right now, do you understand? Where did your love for radio itself start from?
So when I was in high school, I took dramatic arts as an 8th subject. So, you know, over and above math and, you know, everything else, drama was one of my favorite subjects, you know, and it's really where I got to firstly learn about you know, the performing arts, you know, from a theoretical point of view to everything in between. And I had all these teachers who would tell me that one day they would see my name in lights, you know, and I didn't believe them, you know, but I had the ability to make people laugh. I had the ability to improvise. I, you know, had the ability to bring people together. And I've always been a conversationalist, you know, having conversations with a number of people. So it's pretty much then where everything started for me. And then of course, you know, moving to a couple of years later when I was in UCT, I was kind of like just feeling my way through things, you know, like, is this for me, is it not for me? And I really enjoyed it.
So you were not a student there, just worked at UCT Radio?
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay.
I won't say that's how good I was, but
Well, it is. I saw from the age of 13, you loved arts and performing arts itself. How did you grow up in the Eastern Cape? You were born in the Eastern Cape, right? Exactly. So how was it at home with you? And guys, take note, this is Mojack's sister, right? If you know Mojack, then you'd understand. Hore, she grew up in a household where it actually feels like you grew up in a house where they let you be yourself, they let a kid be a kid, and they support more than black households, because Rona, we know how I want to be a singer, I'm a career mo, I want to be a DJ, I never want to be drugs and all that.
Exactly.
How did you grow up as a 13-year-old finding yourself in an art and performing class in the Eastern Cape at that time?
yeah. So point of correction, I was just born in East London. You know, Mojack and I didn't grow up together. We share the same father, but you know, he was, you know, on his own path, and so was I. But it's amazing how between, you know, the four of us, in terms of myself and my siblings, we're all so different, but yet somehow we're in this space where my younger brother is playing rugby, and then there's Mojack, and he's doing his thing, and I'm doing my thing, and my eldest brother is also in, you know, entertainment to an extent, you know. But if anything, you know, for me, thank goodness I had the opportunity to study drama. You know, I don't think if I had that opportunity I would be where I was, because that's pretty much where, you know, my love for performing started, you know. And as I said, you know, it was an 8th subject, but it kind of felt like it was the only subject.
Wow.
Over and above this geography.
What's yours? What's yours?
Bio.
It's yours. So you were not into your biography.
Look, I did life sciences, I did
Uh-huh.
geography, I did French in high school as well. I did
French.
maths. Yeah.
Okay, guys, she's gonna give me a few classes before she leaves.
I can, yeah.
Okay, really?
Yeah. So
Thank you.
we would say now bonjour.
No,
Bonjour.
no. You see, the thing is,
You see now. So bonjour is one, and then we would say comment ça va. You would say ça va bien, and then later
That's
this
hi.
evening.
How are you?
Yes. Then
Okay.
later this evening you can say bonsoir. Bonsoir is good evening, and je m'appelle Queen Shiva.
Yo, you see, the thing is, ne, I can say it, but the way it lives is not.
Okay.
Thank you. So from UCT to YFM, how do you get from Cape Town to Joburg? And who got hold of you? What was happening at that time?
Yeah, so I've answered this question a number of times, and it's always the same response. I was at an event, and I bumped into Scoop, and I was a huge fan of Scoop.
Makatini.
Yes.
Okay.
And we met, and we, became quite friendly. And he said to me, "You should come to Joburg," And I said, "I don't think I have what it takes," But because he knew that I was doing a bit of campus radio, I had already been doing something to an extent, But long story short, I had submitted my demo, and it just wasn't the right time,
Okay.
And eventually I got a call to say, listen, we've got 3 other ladies and yourself who, we'd like to give this particular slot to from 10 till 12, Monday to Friday. And I went last because I was in Cape Town. And then, eventually I flew up to Joburg and I did the show. And for whatever reason, I don't know how it happened, but the show was then mine, And I think, there's 2 parts to this. Firstly, wow, there was somebody who believed in me and saw something in me, which I couldn't see for myself. But then secondly, that timing is everything. Things do happen for a reason when they're meant to happen. And for me, I always say that I'm in exactly the right place right now. I'm exactly where I need to be at this point in time. So as much as it didn't happen the first time, something did eventually happen. So that's pretty much how it started. So I don't know if I should be thanking Scoop or what's it called.
No, it's Kiki. It's up to her.
Yeah.
It's up to her. But otherwise, I started listening to you on radio that year, which was 2014, right? And why? When did you release your first mix?
So I released a song. I think it might have been in that year, in 2014.
Yeah.
I released a song called Love in the Summer. Not because I thought I could sing, but because I love music and I love the magic that happens in a studio, and also because I worked at a station and what I wanted to do is make use of the resources that I had around me. So I had incredible producers and a mixer and masterer, and Dumelo, who had written the song for me, back then he worked with Black Coffee, and he's such an incredible vocalist, and he makes incredible music, and I was so inspired by his journey, and I said, please, will you write a song for me? So Love in the Summer was the first song, and then I released another one called Ngwe, which also I really enjoyed. But for me, I didn't make the music because I wanted to be a superstar, or I wanted to be known as a vocalist, or a performer. I just made the music because it's something that I wanted to tick off on my bucket list,
But Ngwe sounds so beautiful.
And I was talking my neck there in the song.
It sounded, I didn't believe it was you.
Yeah.
Honestly, because I'm like, Zulu.
Yeah.
Okay, then I listened more. I'm like, okay, now I can hear from
she doesn't
Love in the
speak
Summer,
Zulu
and
at all.
that's what got me confused. I'm like, okay.
Yeah, you see again,
Right.
somebody else wrote the song for me. It wasn't me. If I had written the song, it
could
probably be in French.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, so how did you work around being on TV? Because you started from Cabaret, right?
Yeah.
Which was in 2015.
I don't even remember, to be honest.
Really.
But I mean, I completely forgot about that. When I talk to people, I don't mention Cabaret.
Really?
And I was doing the gig guide,
Uh-huh.
and it was a lot of fun. I was. Yeah, I mean, just
That was
being
nice.
and it was short-lived,
It was, yeah.
But I gained a lot of experience on Cabaret, and then and what was nice is that I was already working alongside Mo Flava at Y, so then to be on this show with him was also just amazing, and I've always loved his style of presenting and his journey and stuff like that. But I remember being at Y, and the guys from Vuzu actually came into the station.
I remember
they
that.
did an interview, and they were talking to a bunch of us, and next thing I was just asked to come through. I don't exactly remember what the process was, but that's pretty much how it started, you know.
You even went on the hustle. I
did.
remember the hustle.
I did.
It was a hip hop.
Yeah. So why I love the hustle is that, firstly, you know, it was like my show. You know, it was my show. But you know, you had myself as the presenter. You had these three phenomenal judges, and what was so incredible about the concept of this competition is that it wasn't just about being able to rap. It wasn't about being the most talented lyricist or whatever the case is. What it looked at was, you know, a whole bunch of things, from how to collaborate with other artists to, you know, do a remix to how to conduct yourself in a radio interview, you know. So there were so many different parts of this competition which I enjoyed, and gave the contestant a holistic view of what it means to be an artist, you know,
and work around in the media itself.
You know. So many, you know, artists would come onto the show for each episode, and you know, I myself learned so much from that particular show. But what I've seen is that, and what I love the most is that each individual artist was able to curate their own path, and they were able to make a name for themselves in their own particular way. I don't even care who won versus who didn't win. It was the fact that everybody was exposed to this beautiful holistic approach of what it means to really be an artist, because you need to know a little bit of everything.
Yeah, plus kind of what's this show? Oh, I follow you so much. As I said, I've been listening to you. I've been checking you out on socials, and I'm like, why can't I look like her? Like, I want to keep up with how gorgeous you are. I want to keep up with how healthy you are living. And now I'm like, she's older than me. Yes. Why am I trying to keep up with her? Like, how does that all happen? Otherwise, also, I saw you started, is it a YouTube channel? Dinner Time.
Yes, Dinner Anyone.
Dinner Anyone.
Yeah.
What's happening around that?
So, you know, firstly, I'm in a very different chapter in my life. You know, I am very selective about the things that I do today. You know, also very selective about the people that I work with and who I interact with. You know, and what I've seen, and I'm sure we'll chat about, you know, my show and what I'm currently doing at the moment.
Yeah.
But what I've seen is that there's such a disconnect between people. You know, we go out for dinner, everybody's on their phone. We go out for dinner and nobody's in the moment. You know, everybody wants to take a snap of the food and what's happening, which is all good and well. I do that. I take videos of the food and everything. But for most of all of that, we're not connecting as individuals, you know, and often we need to ask each other, how are you really? Like, it's fine to say, how are you? You know, but the minute you say, how are you really? You open up, you know, the doors for such a beautiful conversation where people can connect. So anyway, I've got colleagues of mine, good friends of mine, who we were trying to organize a dinner, and it just wasn't happening. And I made this WhatsApp group, and I called it Dinner Anyone. And the start of this podcast, you know, came to light. So ultimately, what I really wanted this podcast to highlight is the importance of connecting with people. The importance of holding a safe space for people. I wanted it to be an extension of my show, because on my radio show, I have all these different parts of myself which I wanted to translate into a radio show. So whomever is on my show, I wanted to extend that conversation to this podcast. So it's lighthearted, it's warm, it's fun, it's a space for people to get vulnerable. You know, it's unscripted, it's uncensored, it's real.
Right. Yeah. So I also want to know how do you not get caught up actually in the limelight? Because people are influencers these days. Everyone is an influencer. Everyone, if ever you're on TV or you're on radio, then you must trend. You must trend. Either family, because now if they involve family, you're trending because your son was let me not go there. I just remember
Queen Sheba.
You understand that just came back, and I don't want to go there.
Look, myself. You know, Sylvia, if anything, I've had my fair share of trending. You know, I know what it feels like to be thrown under the bus. I know what it feels like to trend for the wrong reasons. I know what it's like to say something and have it completely misconstrued or misinterpreted. I know what it's like to have people hold things against you without even hearing your side of the story. I know all about it, you know. I do things very privately. When I deal with things or I handle things, I do it privately. I'm not the type of person who, is going to post a court order on social media or, a letter from my lawyer on social media. So, I think my downfall in my career has probably been the fact that I've never been very outspoken about things that I've trended for. I've never, come out and given my side of the story, whatever the story might have been, and I think if anything, it wasn't a downfall. It was to protect myself, it was to protect my children, and everything else. And I think that the challenge that we have today is that everyone's just sitting behind their phones and they have so much to say about things they know nothing about.
True.
And
True.
We are so quick to say R.I.P. to people.
Right.
We're so quick to sympathize with certain people, but we're actually part of the problem.
Exactly.
And we don't actually have the intelligence or the emotional EQ to deal with things.
That's true.
In a very mature, rational manner. I firmly believe that I don't have to have an opinion about everything.
Exactly.
So I'm on Twitter every day, but it's just to read what other people are saying. It's actually quite disheartening to see how easy it is for people to say the things that they say.
Yeah.
And I kind of feel like I'm deviating from your question, but if anything, I don't feel like I've always said this. I don't see myself as a public figure. I don't see myself as a celebrity. I don't see myself as someone on a pedestal, whatever the case is. How I view people is as people. Imagine we had to take away the car, the house, the title, the vape, the everything, the shoe. What would you be left with? And that is your soul. And I think that part of the problem is that we don't look at each other as souls. We don't look at each other or see each other as equals.
We are quick to judge.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So, if anything, the way I live my life today is that I try and feed my mind and my body and my spirit in a very positive way. So that includes not divulging into negativity. That includes not, involving myself into things that have got nothing to do with me. That includes not reading the news. That includes, not having something to say about someone on my radio show that might have been negative, and we have no idea that in the long run, in the bigger scheme of things, how this could impact not just the individual, but the people closest to this individual. So I dealt with being popular and being wanted, and people screaming at me and whatever the case is. Hey, like I've been, you know what I mean. And I think I quite like having a sense of peace and serenity in my life.
Privacy,
today.
right?
It's such a beautiful thing.
What actually made you drop that name?
Yeah, so there's a lot of things that have happened over the past, I would say, 2.5 years or so. I think what was the catalyst to all this change was when I lost my dad. My dad was really ill, and in fact, it didn't happen immediately, but 11 months after. It's a journey. It's not just one thing.
Oh, that's beautiful. Although radio presenters, when they speak, you listen.
Oh,
thank you. So, since you've been on TV for some time, what has changed, or what's different from when you started being on TV? Actually, media itself. Let's say media. When you started being on the limelight, what do you think has changed, or what shifted, or what are we doing different from when you started being on TV and doing radio itself? What are we doing different?
Who's we? Sorry.
My generation now. Yeah.
What I think is so nice to see is that everybody's like pretty much doing their own thing. Like just because you're not on a Vuzu, for example, or Channel O, or an MTV Base, or whatever the case is, even like a Y, it doesn't mean that you're not talented. It doesn't mean that you don't have a good thing going. It's so beautiful to see, even yourself, Sylvia, like, you have this podcast and you've got the equipment and you've got your team and everything else. Like, it's such a beautiful thing to see, like, that if you want to do something, it is possible to do so. Why do we have to be on a certain channel to be recognized or to be appreciated? Why do we have to be in Joburg, you know, or like in Sandton to pop, you know what I mean? Like, I think that, and I hate talking about this thing of like, nobody's opening up the industry, because I don't care about that stuff, you know what I mean? Like, I don't care, and I think there's a misconception that if we don't see you on television, we don't hear you on mainstream radio, you're irrelevant.
Right.
And things like that have been said to me before. You know, Sam, we can't book you for, you know, this, that, and the other, because no one's seen you anyway. But my argument, and I didn't even argue, I just kind of was like, okay. But my justification for why I don't want to entertain a comment like that is because I'm still talented. You know, I still have a brain. You know, I'm still.
It doesn't change a thing.
Yeah, I'm still competent.
Exactly.
You know, I still have a personality. You know what I mean? So, I think my biggest issue initially was that my career and what I did was driven by people's perception, what people thought of me, what people would say I should do, and that type of stuff. So half the decisions that were ever made, by me of course, were always influenced by external things. I wasn't doing things based on what was in my heart and in my head, you know. And precisely that, you know, didn't know who I was and was kind of just going with it and stuff like that. But what I love is just that everybody's so different, you know.
Right.
And unfortunately, we don't get to see that, like on mainstream TV and mainstream radio, that there is so much diversity out there, you know. So yes, we have a lot of people who sound the same, who look the same, who want to look like a certain somebody. But why? You know, when I was on Y, my show was called Made Different.
Right.
Know? And it was this whole thing of like I sounded different, and I was from a different city and whatever, and I was me, you know. But unfortunately, I got lost, you know, along the way, and I kind of lost myself and all of that, you know. But still to this day, you know, I am different, and a lot of, you know, followers or whatever, you know, they used to say that I inspired them to get tatted up and, you know, fill themselves with tattoos and whatever the case is, which was nice, you know.
It is.
But I mean, we should never make decisions based on what looks cool or what looks presentable or what's trending, or
it might not even be for you.
100%. Yeah. You know? So I kind of think that my journey up until this point has been really about getting to know who I am. Because that was your question. You were like, why did you drop? See, I have a problem. I answer the question, but like I answer it after, and then you know. But it's a new chapter, you know, and I think that was also another thing. It's like, what are you gonna call yourself? And like, how? But the ID says Sam Mutsirisi Lihoko, you know. So why not? But I think it was important for me to also just to pay homage to my dad and my clan and, you know, who I am, and to own this thing of being a Lihoko. Yeah.
So what's the new Sam?
Oh, we'll be here until next week.
What's the new Sam, and what can we expect from? Are we expecting new music? Are we hearing anything?
So I guess, like, I'm still a work in progress. Sam is still a work in progress. You know, there's so much that I still have to uncover and discover and discard about myself. You know, part of my journey and part of how I'm healing, not healed. Part of how I'm healing is being of service. You know. Whether it's being of service, you know, in my recovery, being of service in my home, you know, to my children, to my family, and to colleagues, you know. And I work in multiple industries. Like, I'm not just doing the radio thing, you know. And in other areas of my life, I kind of feel like it is so. This industry in particular, we don't like to collaborate. We don't like to join forces. Like, shit, you have a great idea. Fuck, you have a great... Let's come together. Now, I feel like in other industries, like, people do that a lot more.
Exactly,
you know? So, I think, you know, today also I'm all about collaborations. You know, at some point, I was really looking for something to do, you know, and how to help out. Look, I've recently adopted an orphanage. That's one of the things that I've done. 14 girls and boys between the ages of 5 and 18. So that's the orphanage that I work with. But initially I was looking for something to do, and I really love working with people, you know. As a certified life coach, you know, I really wanted to be able to use my coaching skills and connect with people. And life coaching, you know, is a combination of everything from relationships to money to whatever. and I came across this organization. It's an NPC. It's called Rise Against Domestic Violence. And not long after, I was helping quite a number of members, and I became very close with the founder. I became a director, so I serve on the board for this organization.
Sammy. I don't know if I should say. I don't know how to even put this. I got very excited. You see people say, "Oh, I got butterflies." No, I got birds. When I heard Smanga say, "Sylvia, I'd like for you to interview Sammy," I'm like, Sammy Sosa, like, and she's like, and he was like, "Yeah, the Sam." I'm like, "Are you serious? For real? For real?" I didn't sleep, and
That sounds like a you problem. That sounds like a you
it's
thing.
not insomnia, but I couldn't sleep because I'm like, does she know? Because most of the time it happens that you are in the public and you don't know how many people you reach, right?
Yeah.
And you don't know how many people love you. Might be someone from Kimberley and you find yourself in the mall in Kimberley and they're like, "Oh, Sam," and you're not even. You don't even know how to react because you didn't even know that you can even get to that point and be loved by so many people. I love you so much. I'm over the moon. I am so happy to have interviewed you, even seen you in person. She's more gorgeous in person, guys, more than on the socials. On Instagram and the scroller. So
I
meet
know,
her in
that's-
person.
We choose the best pictures for our WhatsApp profile picture.
But she's here. She's here.
Yeah.
Guys, she's so beautiful, and when I a black don't crack, this is where it's going. So this is who I'm following. If you see me look like this, you know this is where it comes from, right? In closing, I wanted to be the one saying a lot, but then we're not really gonna finish. Can you motivate me, please? Like, I need some motivation.
So I hate to break it to you, but it's actually got nothing to do with motivation. Like, people say that, you know, they're not motivated to do things and, you know, wake up in the morning and whatever the case
Yeah.
is. It's actually got nothing to do with motivation. It has everything to do with
Self.
your plan. Like, what is your plan? You know, if you don't have a plan, of course you're going to feel like, you know.
True.
So in life, it's so important to have a plan. And if anything, like, you need to understand what your goal is. You know, I interviewed, it was Kelly Kumalo not so long ago. And
Yeah.
she said something to me where I was like, okay. She's like, I do everything with intention. Like, everything that you do in life, there has to be an intention behind that, you know?
Yeah.
And if you have a beautiful goal, whatever that may be, to have the #1 podcast in Mzansi or whatever the case is, the plan has to be in place. And the goal never changes. So if you have one plan and it fails, that's okay. You move to plan B. If plan B fails, you move to plan C. But the goal is still,
Exactly.
you know, the same, you know? And I kind of feel like, because everybody's on their own journey and things happen at different times for different people, it's very difficult to say you'll get to that point, because you can never. You know, you can never.
Yeah.
You might get to the same point, but the path or the journey to get there might be different for everybody, you know. So get to know who you are. Have a good self-image, you know. Do I love myself, respect myself? I was saying to these matriculants earlier, you know, love yourself, believe in yourself, believe in your capabilities, have a good self-image, affirm yourself on a daily basis. Find a beautiful balance of, you know, work and play and family time and all those beautiful things, you know. And to my earlier saying, you know, find that serenity amongst the storm. You know, like, it's very difficult these days, and I'm a person that I don't trust easily, I don't open up easily, I don't get vulnerable, I don't like getting vulnerable, it's not my thing. That's how we connect, you know,
Right.
we connect with ourselves and uncover and discover so much, and we're able to discard the parts of ourselves which we don't necessarily like.
True.
You know,
Yeah.
and everybody, I think what I just want to kind of end off with is that everybody should see themselves as like an onion. I mean, onions, we put in onions in everything, you know.
Right.
But the bottom line is that if you work on self, you know, you get to peel away these different layers of the onion and get to the core of who you really, really are. You
Yeah.
know? So yeah, people might see you or know you as a criminal,
Right.
but underneath the criminality,
I'm so romantic.
well, I mean, but
Yeah.
we need to begin to peel away those layers of trauma and shame and guilt and, deceit and dishonesty and whatever, and get to the purity, because in all of us there is some level of purity, so that's what that's my wish for everybody, who watches this, is get to know who you are and base your decisions on who you are and what works for you. Be boundaried. Like, I'm happy to say no to things today.
As much as it's difficult.
I know.
It's really difficult to say
Well,
no.
life coaching session is happening.
She's here. So I don't need any other life coach, guys. Sammy is from today nje, just know putting right this side. Thanks for coming.
Thank you for having me.
Thanks
Sylvia.
for being here.
Yeah.
Thanks for being yourself. Thank you. Please keep on teaching us, even from a distance. The way you're teaching us how to behave, even especially when we enter public spaces, right?
No elbows on the table.
Right. The etiquette of media.
Yeah. The rapport.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Queen Sheba, you've been amazing. And if anything, look, I am working on this album. I'm with the MPC. I've adopted this orphanage. I'm working on this podcast called Dinner Anyone. I'm on radio. I love what I do. I'm on Mix 93.8 Monday to Friday from 9 till 11. It's a beautiful show, and I'm just grateful. And as I said earlier, I'm exactly where I need to be in this moment. So thank you, and I've loved talking to you.
Thank you so much.
It's the skin for me.
Oh, right.
It's the cheekbones for me.
Where am I getting it from?
Oh, come on. It's
Right
the brows
here.
for me. Thank you so much for having me.
Okay, it's fine. Guys, thank you so much. This is BNC Entertainment. It's been great being with Sammy. Guys, for a day, and understand she's such a pure soul. She is so beautiful, more in person, right? Guys, thank you for watching.